Hello, everyone. Welcome to this presentation. My name is Martin, and I'm with My IELTS Tutor. Give me a second here. I had some technical issues with passwords and such, so just give me 1 minute. But it's nice to see people here today. We got to have 5 people so far, so say hello. Hello, everyone. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is I'm just setting up the slideshow, and we can get started. Okay, so now I gotta get. Share screen. Okay, here we go. All right, now we're all set. Sorry for the delay. I had some technical issues. The password, I had to search for passwords. They were, my wife periodically cleans the computer, and so I had to search for the passwords again. So thank you for being patient, and we can get started. So, okay, so my name is Martin. I'm an IELTS tutor with My IELTS Tutor, which is a premium online IELTS institute where we prepare you to achieve the highest. Okay, I need to turn off the volume of my phone there. All right, so sorry about that. My name is Martin. I'm an IELTS tutor with My IELTS Tutor, a premium online, the premium online institute for IELTS training, and we're serving students worldwide. And so today I'm here to talk about IELTS speaking, and specifically talking about part one speaking. So good evening, Sean. We have some students. Dimple, hello, Dimple. Hello, Pooja. Hello, Subhail. Shanti. Thank you guys for being patient. I appreciate it. Hello to the other people who've joined me. So let's get started. So as I said, I'm going to be talking about part one, all about, and IELTS speaking is divided into 3 parts. So, but we're concerned with part one. Now, what is part one? Now, let me backtrack. Before I continue, we have part one, which is what you see here, introduction and ID checking and general questions. Then you have part two, that's the long haul. That's the cue card, where you're given a topic and you have to speak for up to 2 minutes. And then after the cue card, you have the follow-up questions. Now, I've already talked about the cue card. My first 2 live presentations were about the cue card. And I really recommend that you guys watch those, especially because I talk about how to handle a cue card, how to handle difficult cue cards. So I really recommend that you guys watch those here on My IELTS Tutor on YouTube. You can also watch my videos on Instagram too. I do talk about IELTS speaking there. But now, getting back to the part one, it's really divided into 2 sections, the introduction and ID checking. And then we have the general sections. The total time for that is about 4 to 5 minutes, and you have a total of 10 to 11 questions. Now, for the introduction and ID checking, that's not scored. That is not scored. It's not counted against, towards your final band score or for part one considerations. But you do have 4 questions, and I'm going to talk about those in a little bit. Hello, Gopal. Nice to see you. Hello, Anish. So, and I'm doing fine, thank you. All right, so as I said, the introduction and ID checking, they're not scored, but you do have 4 questions. And I want to talk about those in a little bit. And then you have general questions. And these are what's scored, okay? These are what's scored. And you have 6 to 7 of these questions. Okay, so now let's move on, talk about the ID in introduction. So the purpose of this is really to establish who you are. It's the examiner's attempt to verify that you are a legitimate test taker, that you're there to actually take the IELTS and that you are the actual person taking the IELTS. It's also a chance for you to, for the examiner to introduce him or herself and for you to introduce yourself to the examiner. And also, the examiner is there to help you, help you feel comfortable, but, the examiners are supposed to be friendly. I haven't heard of any stories where the examiners are not. Hopefully you won't get someone like that, but they're all trained to be friendly and helpful. The questions involved for the ID checking for this step is you're being asked about your name, where you live, and the examiner is going to look at your ID. So it's really important that you bring an ID, an identification. And this can be your passport or government issued identification. So for instance, if you live here in India, they have what's called a Aadhaar card. So bring that, or a passport. Most common one is a passport. And they do want to see that. And you should bring the original, not a copy. I've never heard that copies are accepted, but you should bring the original, okay? So that's the first part of part 1. Okay. Now, the next part is general questions, and you have here 6 to 7 questions. And these are primarily about work, your studies, your home, your hometown, your hobbies, or other topics that you pretty much know. They could be asked about your neighborhood. You could be asked about your interests, such as reading, travel, transportation, how you get about town, those type of things. So there are other topics that you could be asked about. And so they'll start off asking you maybe about your work or your studies, depending on whether you're taking general IELTS or you're taking academic IELTS. And they may ask you about your home or your hometown and then they may start asking you about hobbies or interests and things like that. So, and these are some of the topics that IELTS may, some of the general questions that IELTS will discuss for the general questions. So you could have art, birthday celebrations, festivals, your childhood, clothing, computers, daily routine, dictionary, spare time. What do you do in your spare time? Newspapers. How often do you read the newspaper, for instance? Shopping. So these are just different topics that IELTS can ask you. They may not ask you, they're not going to ask you all these topics because there's a lot of topics here, but from these topics, they're going to ask you 1 or 2, maybe 3 questions from, and they'll change topics throughout that period. So for example, as I mentioned, they'll start off by asking you about your home, your work or your studies. You probably get 2 questions for that. Then maybe about your home or hometown. And then you could be asked about happiness, some questions about happiness. So is it easy to be happy, or how do you maintain happiness? And then they may ask you about your neighborhood. Can you describe your neighborhood a little bit? What's your favorite place in your neighborhood? And so on and so forth. So that's how part 1 progresses. Now, let's move on. Okay, so now, one of the things that students kind of wonder about is if I don't answer a question or if I don't know the answer to a question, I think I advanced ahead. No, I didn't. If you don't know the answer to a question, should you answer? And you're not going, or you're not, will I get a high score if I don't know the answer to a question? So, and some of those topics you may not have experience with. For instance, foreign travel. I've seen one topic in a supplement for general questions about space travel. So most people are not going to be traveling in space. Although you never know nowadays with Elon Musk. So, but those are you could be asked hypothetical questions too, but hypothetical questions really come in more in part 3. But if you don't know the answer to a question, it's okay. And for one thing is, and this is another thing that students have difficulty understanding, is that there is no wrong answer, no right answer, okay? No wrong answer, no right answer. What really matters is how relevant you are, okay? How relevant you are. So I have a couple of days ago, in a speaking session, one of my students asked me, how should I answer this? What should I tell the examiner, say to the examiner? Well, I worked with her to try to think in how to come up with ideas, as long as it's relevant, as long as it makes sense, as long as it's logical and reasonable, it's okay. And you can lie too, okay? The scorer is not going to care, and the scorer the scorer is not going to know, and the scorer is not going to care as long as it's reasonable and logical. You can make something up, especially if you don't have experience with something. Now, answers must be about the topic. They must be related to the topic, but as I said, there's no right or wrong answer. What's really being tested here is how clearly you speak, your grammar and vocabulary, your ability to speak at length, and how well you can stay relevant. How well you can stay relevant, and that means sticking to the topic, okay? Now, another concern is grammar. If you're good at grammar, you'll do very well. Okay, so I think I made a mistake here with my slides. General questions. Okay, that was a general question. So the time now, I want to go for. I'm sorry about that. I left in a slide from the previous one. But general questions, there's one thing that students have trouble with general questions, and that's in terms of time, how long they should spend on a general question. They're either too short, one sentence, one quick sentence, or they're too long. And so you want to have a sentence, you want to have an answer that's somewhere about 2 to 3 sentences, about 4 sentences at the maximum. So we're looking around 15 seconds, no more than 20 seconds for a general question. You really want short answers here. And you want to answer the question with details, okay? And when you answer questions with details, it gives a clear idea of what you're talking about. And then it gives the examiner insight into your ability to speak. So when you, and then another thing, it makes, when you use details, your answers become much clearer, much more understandable. Okay, so again, general questions, I say up to 30 seconds, but really it's, here it says 30 seconds, it should be 20 seconds, up to 20 seconds, no more than that. And now the significance of part one. This is important. The significance of part one is it creates a first impression on the examiner. And that becomes the basis for the score. So what's going to happen is after part one, they're going to come up with a tentative score for you. Say like you do, and most of the time you do really well. Most students do really well in part one because the questions are fairly easy. And so they may score you at say 7 across the different criteria for the band scores, such as pronunciation, grammatical range and accuracy, lexical resources, and fluency and coherence. They're going to grade you and come up with an initial band score for part one. And then the next part two, is going to be judged against that score. You're going to see whether or not you merit that type of score, especially in the particular categories. And then the same thing happens in part three. Part three, they're going to see whether or not the band score you get for part two is justified. It could be higher, it could be lower. So in this case, in part two of the exam, if you score band score of 7, part two, the examiner is going to see whether or not you merit that score. It could be higher, it could be lower. And then the same thing will happen in part 3. Okay, now how to answer part 2 questions. Now again, it shouldn't be no more than 30 seconds, but 20 seconds, really a good answer. It shouldn't be more than 30, but you're striving for 15 to 20 seconds. It should be 2 to 3 sentences, not more than 4, okay? Keep that in mind, 2 to 3 sentences, 15 to 20 seconds, okay? Now, there is a strategy you can use for answering the general questions. First thing is you want to answer the question directly. This means that you want to go straight to the question. A lot of times, students will repeat the question, or they talk about something that's related and then answer the question. You want to answer the question itself in the first sentence. So what you want to do is say what it is or what you think. You don't want to give a general introductory statement, and that's what a lot of times what students do. You want to go straight to the topic, and that do not there is, I think, an error there. So don't pay attention to that. Sorry about that. Then you want to give a reason. So you want to go straight to the topic, answer it in one sentence, then give a reason, and then give 1 or 2 supporting details or an example. But again, you don't want to be too long. Okay, so that's the strategy. Answer it directly. Don't repeat the question. Don't give an introductory statement. Go straight to the topic, give a reason, and then give 1 or 2 supporting details. Now, here, I'm going to give you some ideas of how to answer. I have some general questions here, and I'm going to give you, and you can see what type of general questions they have, and I'm going to give you some sample answers for these questions to give you an idea of how to answer them. So the first question, how did you choose that type of job? Well, before I begin, I'm going to use the job of being an IELTS tutor. So, so if you were the examiner and you were to ask me why did I choose that job of IELTS tutor, I would say, well, ever since I moved to India, my most marketable skill is English, and that's why I chose this job. It's very simple. And you could answer in one question. I could give a little bit more. So why did I choose this job? Since I live in India and English is my best skill here in India. And so I would easily find a job using English as a way for me to earn money. Something like that. That's another way of answering it. Okay. Do you prefer to study in the morning or afternoon? Mornings or afternoons? Now, you can also, if you say morning, you don't have to pick one or the other either. You can say evenings too. So do you prefer, but you still have to give a reason why. But the question is, do you prefer to study in the mornings or afternoon? You can say, oh, I prefer, actually, I'm repeating the question. So that's a good example of what not to do. During the mornings is when I like to study because I feel the most, the freshest, and I'm able to concentrate more and focus better. And so that's why I like to, study at that time. Now, of course, I don't have to say either one. I could say, I prefer to study in the evening because that's when I have the time to study. Again, I repeated the question. I prefer evening time because that's when I have time to study. I don't have time during the mornings or afternoons because I work, for example. Next question, which room in your home does your family spend the most time in? That would be, notice I'm going straight to the topic. That would be the drawing room. This is where my family gathers to watch TV. We also have our evening meals there. And so that's where we always gather in our home. Next one. Did your friends grow up in your hometown? No, they didn't. Most of my friends have, but not all of them. Others have moved there. Have you ever visited a farm? Yes, I have. I visited one when I was in grade school. It was a dairy farm. What makes you feel proud of your country? I think what makes me proud is that there is a huge diversity of people and cultures in my country. And that's what really makes India special. Do you like to go out to eat at restaurants? Yes, I do. My wife and I often enjoy dining out, and we go out maybe once or twice a week. So that's how you can answer some of these questions. Again, they should be from you, your experience, your knowledge, and what you think, and they should be relevant. You should go straight to the topic. You should not repeat the question. You should make sure that they are addressing the topic as well. It's important to stick to the topic. So that's it on the general questions, and that's it for our presentation today. Does anyone have any questions? If you have questions, this is a good time to ask questions, especially about part one. Hopefully I made things clear despite some of the technical issues, and I do apologize for that. Now, so far, no questions, but that's okay. We're down to 2 people. Okay, so that's it for today's, since there's no questions, we'll end. So that's it for today's session. I want to thank you guys for joining me. It's certainly a pleasure for you to do this. It's certainly a pleasure for me to be here with you. And now I want to, before I begin, oh, it looks like I have oh, you're welcome, Dimple. Thank you. Okay, so now, if you want more information about My IELTS Tutor, be sure to click on the button below and one of our representatives will get in touch with you. Do follow us on Instagram. Do follow us here on YouTube as well as Facebook. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to talk about My IELTS Tutor. As I said, it's the premium online IELTS Institute, and I think you're going to get served better learning than what you would get in a brick and mortar institute, where you will be put in a class with 20, 30 odd students. See, what makes My IELTS Tutor very special is that you primarily get individualized training. So this means you have one-to-one sessions, you have small group, 2, 3, maybe 4 small groups, classrooms, online classrooms. You don't get much, you don't get 10 or more. We don't have classes that size. So you get more attention from the instructor. And so this really, I think, helps students grow. This helps students improve, and it makes a difference in your overall band scores, especially when it comes to speaking and writing. I really think that's what makes My IELTS Tutor stand out. And I've worked in a brick and mortar institute before, and I think this more individualized approach makes it much more special, much more unique, and much more effective. And so what do we offer in our live premium training? Well, this is what we offer here on the slide. We have detailed analysis and feedback for writing, live reading discussions, one-to-one speaking, ebooks. We have ebooks to offer, and we have PDFs. We have a 9-band essay bank. So if you wanted to compare your essay to our writing samples, you can. We have proven tips and strategy live sessions, and that's and this presentation is part of that. We have vocabulary building tools, access to daily idea generation and live classes for both speaking and writing. We have detailed one-to-one speaking feedback and analysis, live listening sessions, understanding marking criteria, and then we have complete mock tests with detailed analysis and in-class discussions. We also have individual practice tests on reading and listening, 8-band reading strategy for improving accuracy, and customized study plans. And that's another thing that makes My IELTS Tutor unique and special, is that we develop individual plans for you. That's right, for you. So you come, we assess you, and then we make a plan that will work for you, that works for you, and that works on your weaknesses and then enhances your strengths. And so that's what we do. Okay, so these are the primary tutors here. My IELTS Tutor, myself, Nana Chabra, and Ms. Amita. Together we have over 30 years of teaching students, and we're dedicated to helping you achieve your scores, your band scores. And so, and here are some of our most students' recent results. And we always strive for our students achieving the highest possible score they can get. And so this means we're committed to helping you achieve the highest score as possible and helping you achieve the score you wish to score. And because of this, we will do everything in our power to help you get that score. And so this means that your bands are our responsibility. That's right. Your bands are our responsibility. So that's it for today. Thank you for joining me. It's great to have you with us. I will be back next week, next Wednesday at 5 o'clock here on YouTube. Do follow us on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. And if you want more information about IELTS and my IELTS tutor, be sure to click on the button below, and I'll see you guys soon. You guys have a great evening. Bye. Okay. All right. Here we go.